if you don't mind, Amir, is just to understand a little bit more about what everybody's trying to achieve, and where this need for a better understanding of, or is it a given? To explain. So I know we're all from different backgrounds with different skills and different aspirations and challenges. Paulette. Oh, not supposed to mention names, sorry. We're all at different stages in this journey, so I think if you don't mind, I'd really like to understand a little bit more about what it is that is exciting everybody about getting to grips with digital in a bit more. So perhaps the questions are really, so if there is a writer who we both read, an author called Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I would urge you to read if you haven't done. I wish I'd read it 30 years ago. The premise of that book is that people tend to fall into one of four categories. You're either an employee, so you have a job and you get paid and you pay tax at source. You're a self-employed person, so you still charge for your time, but it's by the hour, by the day, for example. You might be a business owner where you run your own business, online or offline, but there are significant tax advantages in those situations. Or you're an investor down here where you actually just own part of a business, you don't do any of the work, you sit on the beach and they send you money, okay? Now, which is lovely. When, you know, so the book suggests that some people are in two areas, but the general sense is if you want to be financially free and have more time and do what the hell you want, not what somebody else wants you to do, it's better to be on this side of that line than this side, i.e. be a business owner and an investor rather than an employee or a self-employed person. So it would help me to understand where we all sit in that respect, because somebody was frightening. If you are paid at source and you're PAYE, you're working effectively in January, February and March for the government. And that's a frightening thing to realise. And there are other better ways of working where you can not end up paying quite so much tax. So, which is a long way of asking a question. Are we all here because we want to build online businesses? Is that the case? Or are some of us just want to understand digital a bit better? So there's the
maybe, yes. So I've got ideas, but I'm not sure I would open my own business. But I would like to understand how it works, because then maybe one says, why not?
Okay, so that's a general need to understand how digital works, which Amir's been showing, which has been really useful. Is that the same for you, Selena?
Partly. I'm self-employed, and I'd like to understand how I can use the internet and social media to make more money, basically.
Do you mind me asking what you do?
I'm a flyer distributor, self-employed, and I've been making jewellery for a year now, and I'd like to actually develop that into something more substantial.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that your jewellery?
Yes.
Nice. Love it. But the benefit of the tape, is looking, that's great. And he said yours music, so I'm really keen to understand more about the music as much as anything else. But the whole industry has changed, and digital is disrupting everything. And as we've been talking about recently, it's only just started, because I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of blockchain technology, but that will have an even bigger impact than the internet had when it started. We can explain a little bit about the bones of that. It's quite exciting. It's a little bit frightening if you're in banking. It's where Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and all that kind of thing, it's all based on this new technology called blockchain technology. I'll explain it. It's a nice, somebody taught me a really nice way of explaining how it works. And so, Peter, you want to make some money out of your content, and
yeah. Well, I'm also, as I told Amir, I've set up my own networking group because I've come to, which I've got my first meeting next Tuesday.
Right.
I've come to the conclusion that there's a lot of people out there who want to make more money.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily want to go into business.
Okay.
There's
So
an awful lot of different sort of ways of making money these days.
yeah.
Without having to sort of give up their day job and So
Absolutely.
I think it's up to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Well, everybody could do a bit of this,
Yeah.
and I think we'll find we do. Lucy and I were talking earlier. 9 to 5 is a human construct. So is the week. The week is a unit of time that we invented,
Yeah.
not nature. Month is nature, day is nature, year is nature. A week, we did that. And so somebody decided that we should wake up and start work at 9 and finish at 5, and that every job, regardless of what it was, would fit into that same time frame quite nicely. It's rubbish. I'm sure you sit up till dawn making jewellery. Yeah. So what I've done. So that's really useful to understand a little bit more about, because you're toying with what sort of work to be doing.
I'm just at a crossroads where, yes, I want to know what's happening, what opportunities there are. And I was in the library when you arrived, so interesting.
I used to teach, and when I used to teach drums at a public school, and one of my students came to me and he said, I don't know what I want to do for a career. I don't even know what I want to study at university. And so we sat down. He was about 8, 9 years old, and I sat him down and I said, right, on one side of paper, write down all the subjects that you do in the order in which you enjoy them. And on the other side of the page, I want you to write them again, but in the order in which your teachers tell you you're good at them, okay, and what marks you're getting. And he did that and looked at it. I said, is there anything at the top of both of those sides of paper? And he said, oh yeah, there's English and history are up on both. And I said, there you go, you're good at it, you love it, you'll probably end up in a career with that, in that kind of thing. And then they ended up doing it in the school, throughout the school. But it's worth, I know it's a simplistic exercise, but if you're passionate about that, like you are with jewellery, if you're passionate about it and you're really good, and you're good at it, or you can get good at it, it will, that's the sort of thing where the success will come from. Which is a long-winded way of getting to what I was. Am I okay?
Yeah, you're okay for time-wise. Look, anyone's free to leave whenever. Mark, whatever, like 7:30 or even beyond is fine.
Okay.
But we have to leave the library by 8. So like.
Okay. How are we doing? Oh, okay. So what I've done is I've distilled the things I've learned over the last 20 years, working in other people's businesses, setting up my own businesses, selling them, promoting them. I've tried to pull all that together into a system that I can let people have, and it's called Perella. And we've been talking about how we can get and one of the courses that Amir has been mentioning will include this system. But it's Perella, Parela, is an acronym for what I believe the stages are that somebody goes through before they become a customer. And music, classic example, both of yours actually, the jewellery and the music, and yours, Peter, if you're going to be selling content or information or educational content. So the first day, and so many small businesses don't understand this process of customer engagement, and we all do it, by the way. We all go through this process when we encounter new brands, and I do a little quiz that I can do, which is quite fun if we have the time. But those letters stand for, is that up there? No, it's not, is it? So P stands for proposition. So, and I work with a lot of small companies who haven't written down what it is that they are or do. I've often seen trucks driving down the road, and on the side of the truck it might say J.J. Smith and Sons and a telephone number. Haven't a clue what you do. Are you you could be an undertaker, you could be a gardener. I have no idea. Why would I ring your number? Give us a clue. So you take that a bit further, and this is why, for example, EasyJet on the bus shelter, it's orange, it's EasyJet. Madrid, £69. That's it. There's nothing else, because they understand that when you're passing that bus shelter on the bus, that's all you're going to be able to read. So you've got to get it over quickly. So the proposition is that first one. It always helps to try and be a bit different and remarkable as well, so that people have a reason for remembering you. Zappos story is quite a nice one, isn't it? Zappos is a shoe company in San Francisco. And when you start work there, 2 weeks after you start, they offer you $2,000 to leave. And they figure, they're famous for it because they figured if actually you would rather have $2,000 in cash than continue to work here, we don't want you here. It's very few people take it, but they're famous for it. It's really, that makes them remarkable. I would buy their shoes just because of that, and that's got nothing to do with shoes. Yeah. So you try and find that, and then you move, once you've written it down, you say, right, this is what we do, this is what we offer, this is the problem we solve for these types of people, and this is why we are better and different than other people. You could do that for your jewellery tonight. You could write that down. It could be that it's all made out of a certain ceramic, or it's all double baked or triple cooked like chips. I have no idea, you're the expert in that, but you'll be able to find a way of describing that in a way that makes it, oh, that's a bit odd. My wife, for example, is an accountant, but she tells people she's a forensic accountant. Now that sounds more interesting, doesn't it? You know, oh, really? Otherwise, if she says I'm an accountant, it won't.
And what does it mean then?
She's a forensic accountant. She works in law cases where you have to go through the finances. So that's her gig. You know, but she's like Sherlock Holmes meets maths. You know, it's great. So you can find that some way of changing it. So once you've got the proposition, and we may not have time to go through all of this. This is why we're doing the courses. Then the next one is awareness. The single biggest problem affecting most small businesses all over the world is a lack of awareness. The people who you can do business with just don't even know you exist. Okay, and if they don't know you exist, you can't move down that process. So that's where most small businesses get stuck. I read the other day as well that 60% of the limited companies in the UK are one-person companies, which is not. Something like 99% of all the business transactions that happen around the world, not financial ones, but business-to-business transactions, over 99% happen between small businesses. So we are, in our businesses, we are the backbone of these modern economies. But the simple problem is that people just don't know we exist. They're not aware of us. So there is a solution to that. But you need to have the proposition that you can put into that awareness so that you can then get to further down. The R, who can guess what R is? So it has something to do with awareness. That doesn't.
Reputation.
Could be. So no, there are good suggestions. In my example, it's recall. The problem is you make somebody aware of what you're doing, and then when they need to buy jewellery, or if they want to go and explore some new music, they've forgotten about you. So what can you do to maintain that awareness so that people know? We've all suffered from it. I did it the other weekend. I wanted to take the family out to dinner, and I couldn't remember that restaurant that I drove past 3 weeks earlier that I thought we really must try that restaurant. It's so annoying. You know, so we instinctively forget, which is why it's really important to be able to reach customers directly, which is why you need to get their contact details at every opportunity. Arguably, if you're not going to take someone's money, the only other thing that's worth having is their contact details and permission to use it, because then you can remind them. You can do the 30, 60, 90-day reminder, so that when the birthdays hit for more jewellery, or if or if you meet somebody at an event and you think, oh yeah, they love this music, bang, out it goes. E stands for engagement, and as Amir was saying, absolutely perfectly rightly earlier on, if you can make $1 online, you can make $1 million. It's just scale. The rest is just scale. If you can persuade somebody to part with more money for something than it cost you to make or buy, and if you can do that once, the rest is just scale. So there's a great book, I think, is it 0 to 1? Great book, 0 to 1. That's the hardest leap, getting from I've not sold anything yet to one person parting with some money. It happened to me when I bought a lingerie business 3 years ago, and we sat there waiting for the first order to come in, and when it came in, it was such a moment. We only made about £4, I think, but it was just great, you know, to think that we put that out there, somebody thought it was worth what we were paying for it for, and we were able to get it for this much less. and that all worked, and that's just gone from strength to strength, which is really good. If you've got problems with an engagement, then it might be your pricing, it might be a fear of risk, it might be a risk issue. Somebody might think, perhaps they're too big, or they're going to be too expensive, or they're too small, it's too risky. There are all sorts of things that would stop people engaging, and by engagement I mean buying something or committing. And then L is, anyone have a stab? You've got somebody who's repeatedly engaged. What's your L?
Leverage.
Not quite. There are point systems in this. You've probably got a card that allows you to... Loyalty, yeah. So some businesses lend themselves to repeat business more than others. But regular customers are the most profitable. People who come back, who don't need to be dragged down the screaming line of marketing and advertising. They know you, they're close to you, that's where subscription services are so successful. This sort of all-you-can-eat Spotify thing. I pay for Spotify. I'm happy to do so. It's a bargain for me as a consumer of music. It's not such good news for musicians, but because you need so many streams to make a dollar. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Just to find, actually to help people find you, but it's not really
That's disrupting music enormously. But if you can get let's say, I know for example that we set up a business called Shirtify, which we haven't yet launched, but it was like Spotify, but it was for shirts, for men, for work. I did some research and I found that most men working in London spend about £250, £300 a year on collared shirts for work. But they're highly promiscuous. They'll buy them anywhere. They'll get from M&S, then they'll go to T.M. Lewin's, and then they'll go Charles Tyrwhitt. Charles Tyrwhitt, there's a great brand. You can't pronounce. I can pronounce it, but you read it and you think I can't work that one out. But so the idea was you pay £20 a month, and your shirt arrives on your desk at work, beautifully wrapped, recommended by your personal shirt assistant. All your friends see that you've got a new shirt, and you capture all of the wallet. So you've turned somebody from a customer to a regular customer, and so they're not going to go and, if you're paying £20 a month for a nice new shirt for work, you're not going to go to M&S and grab one at the last minute. And so that turning people into loyal customers is really important. And then the A is the advocacy. So where you've got people, an army of people out there saying how wonderful you are. Now, Nike are there. Can anyone mention any other brands who've made it all the way through that process, and they've got people out there doing their marketing for them? Apple, yeah. Harley Davidson, I'd argue. Harley probably, and others. Any other brands? Cosmetics.
Virgin. Virgin.
Yeah, Virgin.
Rolls Royce.
Yes. Yeah. I gather MAC Cosmetics is quite good, isn't it? Yeah. So they I don't know.
Nothing to know.
So, but we believe what we're told. What would you say was the safest make of car on the market?
Volvo.
Yeah. Have you ever had a crash in a Volvo, Peter?
I've never driven a Volvo.
No. So you don't know this from your own personal experience?
No, it's just I remember there used to be a big thing about Volvos being very stable.
Yeah. They invented the side impact protection system, but they're not actually. Yes, but they're not actually the most. The Volkswagen Golf is statistically safer than a Volvo. But it's interesting, you thought it was Volvo, and I did this at a talk recently, and everyone put their hands up and said Volvo. And I said, right, okay, remain standing if you've ever owned a Volvo, and lots of people sat down. Remain standing if you've ever had a nasty accident in a Volvo, and everybody sat down. So I said, and there was one person in the whole room, and it was a big group of people, who knew that Volvo was a safe car from his own personal experience. Everyone else in the room had been taught it by the marketing. And that's something, yeah, that we believe. Parting thoughts. Who knows the Audi strapline? Who can say the Audi strapline?
And technique.
Spot on.
And I can't even speak German.
That's brilliant. Now, why do you think they use it in English advertising? Why not just put four-wheel drive technology or whatever it really means?
No idea.
Do you know, it's a fascinating story.
No one knows what it means.
Hmm?
No one knows what it means.
No, the reason they did it was because 30 years ago, everybody thought Audi was like Alfa Romeo and Fiat, Italian. They wanted, in
German.
30 years, to be considered German.
Right.
So and it's worked. Audi are now over here. Everybody lumps Audi with Mercedes and BMW now. But 30 years ago, we all thought they were an Italian brand because of the name. But and one of the things they've done to get over there is put the German strapline in every advert in every country. German, 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 German. Oh yeah, you're German now. It's so clever. But we're all manipulated by these things. But we need to harness that if you're going to start your own business, to go through that process. So that's our Perella system. And it's a stepwise process. It's almost like a tick box checklist. And you move from one place to that, and then you can be like Apple or Nike or Harley Davidson. Sorry, I've been rabbiting on.
Good stuff. Really
Okay.
useful.
Yeah,
That
cool.
was really useful.